Number 10, I have the Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions, Golden Tate, Marvin Jones, Kenny Golladay are their top three. They also have TJ Jones. I think Golden Tate's a good possession guy. You know, I've kind of brought them up, the mold of the Doug Baldwin, Julian Edelman, Jarvis Landry type of guy. Really good after the catch. You have Marvin Jones, who had a huge year last year. A lot of people forget how good he was. Definitely really good down the field threat and good red zone threat. Kenny Golladay, kind of the same mold, and if he breaks out, these guys could definitely be higher. And apparently he's having a good mini camp, but I don't know how much stock I can put into that. Then you also have TJ Jones, a guy with some athleticism. Don't really know how good of a complete receiver he is, but nonetheless, I've seen him at times make some plays. So I think that's a really good top three with the potential of being even better. Obviously, their quarterback helps them there. And I think they have a good mix of a couple of deep threats, some bigger guys with some smaller guys, quicker guys. So I think Detroit, good receiver core. And I think this is actually one of their strengths of their team. Second place for me in the NFC North at 10.
Guess what? We have our second agreement on the list. We got the Detroit Lions here at number 10, starting off the top 10 here for me. Marvin Jones, I think, is great. I really like what I saw out of him last year. He stepped it up production-wise. Golden Tate, I like what I've seen out of him. He's always consistent. Kenny Golladay proved in 2017 he could be somewhat of a good receiver threat. And, of course, it's our boy Matthew Stafford. I mean, he's going to throw it. He's going to chuck it across.
He's not a receiver, bro.
I got to put it in part of this receiver matchup, all right? Chill out. He's going to throw it to everybody across the board, and I like the talent that they got here. I mean, Marvin Jones, we saw what he did last season. Him and Golden Tate both got 1,000 yards, so that's good for them. There's just a lot of good stuff here. TJ Jones, like you said, also is going to be a nice complementary piece for them. And I just think Detroit is going to be – it's going to be an interesting team to watch, but they have the talent on offense to get it done. Especially what they did in the draft. And with these receivers here, I think they can do something well. NFC North in particular is pretty stacked in terms of receivers. But I think this one's the second best in their division, so got to give them credit there. So number 10, the Lions.
Okie dokie. At number 9, I have the other NFC North team, the Minnesota Vikings.
Wow, had them higher. Okay.
Yeah, but the reason why is I really like their number 1 and 2, obviously. But then I still think that their 3 and 4 is very unproven. Kendall Wright hasn't been good in years, and I think he's probably going to be their 3rd or 4th option. Laquan Treadwell.
They don't throw in the ball enough.
They don't play him. And that, to me, if you don't play the guy when he's a first-round pick, that's concerning. Like, I know that we haven't seen a lot of him, but that's something where I would say, hey, that's a circle, that's a red underline, that's like, I don't know how good this guy is. So to me, that kind of holds them back from like the top 5 area. But obviously, I really like Thielen and Diggs, which I think any given year could be better than one another. I think Thielen was better last year. Diggs was better the year before. Maybe it's Diggs' year this year. But both of them like had back and forth games, back and forth contests. And I think with their offense last year, they made big play after big play, and they were the big reason why the Vikings were one of the better offenses in the league last year. And we're allowed Case Keenum to be a really good quarterback. So there's a 1 and 2 that I love, but the 3 and 4 are just keeping them back from the elite. But they're still top 10 at number 9.
Next 2, I think are going to be interesting in terms of what the reactions are going to be here. Number 9, I have the New England Patriots right here.
Well, that's a lot higher than me, so I'll take it.
All right, so they are going to be down a little bit. Brandon Cooks is gone to another team that's in the top 10. And Julian Edelman is suspended for 4 games. I'm pretty sure that's going to stay intact. So that's why they're getting lowered down a little bit. Chris Hogan, the first half of the season when he was healthy was very good. I think he had some really, really solid games. And then once he got hurt and came back, he just wasn't as productive. I think this time around they're going to need him to be a bigger receiver threat. And I think I like what I see out of him when healthy. You got Malcolm Mitchell. I like the talent there. Jordan Matthews, I think it was a sneaky little addition there for the Patriots. Braxton Berrios, the boy everybody's
bro. I hope he's a stud.
I like him. I have watched a lot of him in Miami. I think he's going to be solid. I don't know how much production he's going to get here in his first year.
We'll see. We'll see in the preseason.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's going to be a preseason machine over here.
If he's good in the preseason,
then we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Edelman, after 4 games, I think will obviously carry the load and be that receiver we want him to be in terms of NFL fans. And there's just a lot of depth, I think, in this situation. So I got to put him here at number 9 based on the combination of what I see out of the Patriots every year and the depth that they have.
My next team is actually, ironically, we have the team that Brandon Cooks went to, the LA Rams. So the LA Rams at number 8. Of course, they have Brandon Cooks, they have Robert Woods, they have Cooper Kupp, they have Farrell Cooper, and they have Reynolds as well. So that's their top 5. Kupp, I think, is going to have the breakout season of these guys. I like him as a slot receiver, and I believe he's going to continue to get those clutch catches. That when you watch the Rams last year, he was a big part of their offense, especially in the red zone. I think Cooks is a better version of Sammy Watkins, and I think he's going to basically do the same thing Sammy Watkins did last year, except maybe a little bit better. I was a little bit disappointed in what Brandon Cooks brought to the Patriots. I'm not going to lie. I thought he was good, but I thought he could have been great in the offense, and I just think maybe I overestimated him, or like I don't know. I just think he's a great deep threat. He does a lot of things really well, but also maybe he'll fit the Rams offense a little bit better than he did the Patriots. I'm not sure. Then you have Robert Woods, who showed us all that we were all dummies for thinking that he was nothing but a possession guy. Robert Woods is better than that. Obviously, he proved to be probably their number 1 receiver last year. And I know that a lot of people say, well, Sammy Watkins was taking the number 1 corner away. But Robert Woods continued to come through with play after play after play. So, I mean, he's a good player and definitely turning from Buffalo to a competent, good offensive coordinator in Sean McVay, an offensive mind there, and better quarterback play obviously helped him. So I think the Rams, I really like their top 3. I think they have a lot of different type of guys there. And then at 4 and 5, they just sort of have some younger athletes that could potentially fill in. So I think Rams, good team at 8. Not great. They don't have that one absolute stud, but they have 3 pretty damn good guys.
Number 8, it's finally time. Can't wait to hear about this one. The Giants are here at my number 8 position.
Wow. I just who could Kobe?
Cody.
Oh,
it's Cody. Okay, let me explain. I got a lot of explaining to do. Odell Beckham Jr., the number 3 receiver in the game for me personally, is tremendous. Okay, Sterling Shepard, very good receiver. I like to see the talent of Sterling Shepard, especially, I believe this is his 3rd season. I think he's going to step up and produce for them. I know he did last season before just everybody crumbled in a 3-13 outcome. But in that rookie year where they were doing very well and they made the playoffs, I think there's some good things to see going forward for him. Now, I know the question is about the depth. Why are they here at 8? Well, they have a new head coach, and you brought this up, my man. You brought up Pat Shurmur here. Now he's the head coach of the Giants. Maybe he can produce a little bit something for these guys. I know Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen were pretty good beforehand, but I think he's going to put his hand in dabbling with these receivers and making them better. I'm not going to say they're the greatest of talent, Mr. Kobe/Cody Latimer over here. Okay, but Roger Lewis is not
can't
bad.
even say his name right.
No, I was making fun of you. You said Cody.
Okay.
It's Cody Latimer. Roger Lewis is not a bad talent. I think we only saw him for a couple of games, but
yeah,
Sherman can throw a little bit of his flair there. He can make this team a little bit better there. Eli loves to gunsling, so it's not going to just be
and also it's the Eli effect. He sucks.
Yeah, I know. I've always said he's the most overrated quarterback in NFL history, and I will continue to say this. I don't care. Come at me, Giants fans. So Odell and Sterling, really good 1-2 punch, and if Pat Shurmur can throw his little flair in there, this team could be even better in the receiving corps. So I got the Giants at number 8.
At number 7, I have the New Orleans Saints.
There it is. All right.
There it is.
Okay.
The reason why, I think you didn't bring up a couple of points, but first off, I'm going to start off with Michael Thomas, who is, for me, the 6th best receiver in the NFL. So that's an elite number 1 option. He proved a lot to me in the playoffs last year down the stretch. And I think with the Saints now, they didn't really have a great unit last year, but I think they added a couple of pieces that I think put them over the top and help Michael Thomas out. So you have Michael Thomas, you have Cameron Meredith, who I really like. I think he's going to be a very good number 2 option. I think he kind of will remind you a little bit of Marquise Colston in the Saints offense. Big body guy that I think even on the Bears produced some, and as long as he's healthy, I think he'll be good. Ted Ginn, of course, you said stretches the field. Obviously will have his games where he gets that long touchdown and so on. They also drafted a kid Smith in the 2nd round. So you have to say that this was a 2nd round pick. I mean, and Sean Payton is a pretty good offensive mind. He probably knows this guy's going to, and he's been good at drafting receivers. So I give him the benefit of the doubt on that. So I would say that's a pretty good 4th option. And also Brandon Coleman is pretty decent, especially as a 5th option. He's 6'6". He has some moments, especially in the red zone. They can just throw him the ball up. So I think they have a lot of different type of guys. You have Ginn for the speed, Coleman for the height. You have Smith for the potential. Meredith is a good number 2, and then you have Michael Thomas as the number 1. I think this is a really good unit all around, and I think this is going to make this offense even better. And I think you're going to sort of forget through the first 4 games that Mark Ingram isn't playing, because this receiver group will get you through it.
Okay.
Number 7.
I had him at 14, so a little bit higher, but
7 spots higher.
7 spots higher. That's quite a bit of difference there, which is interesting because I'll take that same trade with the different team over here. At number 7, I have the Houston Texans.
Interesting. See, I don't put the Texans above the Saints, bro. I can't.
I got them. I can't. Okay. Let me explain why. It really comes down to, again, I know I've been putting this a lot in this video, but it comes down to the quarterback play helping this group. Okay.
Well, Drew Brees.
Well, Drew Brees is amazing, but we saw the production. Let's talk about this. DeAndre Hopkins, 4th best receiver in the game. I think we can agree on that. Okay. Will Fuller. That's fine. Will Fuller. He was a lot better with Deshaun Watson than he was with any other quarterback we've seen him play with. We have not seen the greatness of Will Fuller until we saw him play with Deshaun Watson. Multiple touchdowns. He became a red zone threat because of his quarterback. Bruce Ellington, like you brought up, I think is very solid. I think he can work for it. I think he can be pretty decent. I believe the receiver you were talking about was Kiki Kutu.
That's right. Yep.
Katui or whatever.
Yep, you're right. I knew as soon as you said Kiki, you were right.
Yeah, it's Kiki. I think he's solid. He's going to come in here. He's going to look to bring himself up to that top tier, number 3 guy, and I like that. I like that they're getting some depth there. Braxton Miller is not great, but he can bring some things to the table, and I like what I see out of him. And I know we all hate Mr. Sammy Coates, but he's on this team.
God, he is.
I just want to trash. Okay, but in terms of the receiver talent that I do like, DeAndre Hopkins, you look at him and you just say, wow, like this guy has really developed over the last couple of seasons. He's proven to me that he can be a top-tier talent, especially after his last season. Will Fuller with Deshaun Watson, I think is going to be a really great combo, especially in the red zone. Kiki, like you bring it up, he's going to be in the depth chart and bring himself up. And Bruce Ellington, not a bad pick as well. So, number 7, I got the Texans. I like what I see out of them. This team's going to be interesting to watch.
At number 6.
Number 6.
I have the Oakland Raiders.
Oh, shit. Now it's 10 spots higher than I had them.
Okay, hear me out. Amari Cooper, sure, didn't have a great season last year, but he's a number 1 receiver to me. You have Martavis Bryant, who I think is a number 2 at the very least when he plays. When he gets on the field, he's electric. He has the speed. He has the size. He's a big play receiver. Jordy Nelson, I still think has some left in the tank, and I think a lot of that is going to come because I think he's going to be very familiar with John Gruden, and I think he's going to fit that system very well. And I wouldn't be surprised if he actually plays a lot of slot receiver. I think he can do that, and I think he'll fit in very well there. And I think this is a really good trio. So they have Amari Cooper as the number 1. They have Martavis Bryant as the deep threat, and they have Jordy Nelson as the possession guy. Then you have Seth Roberts as the number 4, who I think is, you already brought up, decent guy at that spot. I like Ryan Switzer. I know your Cowboys already gave up on him, but I think I
don't know why. I thought that was
his shot. He never got his shot to perform. I think, if he does have a couple plays here and there, He can do it. Good punt returner. I think with the ball in his hands, he can be something. So I like this group. I think they have a good top 5, definitely a good top 3. And I think obviously adding Gruden and Derek Carr into that conversation, I think will definitely prove that they are a top 10 unit. And I have them at number 6.
Number 6, Los Angeles Rams. I think there's a lot of really good talent. Those top 3 receivers, I know they're not exactly the biggest of the best, but it's a really great combination of the 3 guys. Cooper Kupp, I loved what I saw of him last year. He was one of my favorite receivers last year. He did really good, had some really great fantasy games, and this year, I think he's going to step up once again. Robert Woods, I mean, look at the production in 2017. We were all shocked about it. That's what I like to see. Some guys that we have bad expectations about and go out there and prove something different. And we don't want to see these guys, fail. We want to see them actually do good. So to see a guy turned around like that, I like it. Brandon Cooks. I think he's going to have a really good, I don't want to say bounce back here, but I think he's going to have better production than he did in the Patriots, because the Patriots offense, I just don't think it felt right for him. I don't think it was.
I'm going to say he doesn't.
You're going to say he doesn't have a better season than he did in the Patriots?
Nope. Not statistically.
Well, pull up the statistics real quick for me. I want to get this comparison. I'm going to continue, but just pull up the stats and I'll say whether he's going to be better or not in these statistics.
Okay.
So Brandon Cooks, I think this is a better system for him. I know some people are going to make this comparison like Sammy Watkins. It did not help him, but I think Cooks is going to have a better feel in this area. Sean McVay, I think, is going to what's
65 catches, 1,082 yards, 16.6 yards per catch, which was his highest ever. 7 touchdowns.
Okay, so to me, he'll have more touchdowns in this system. He might not have as many yards. He might be close to on yardage, but I think he'll have more catches. I think he'll have 70 to 75 catches.
Maybe more catches. I don't think he'll have more yards or touchdowns.
I think I don't know about yards, but I think he'll have more. We'll keep this down. Everybody, you put these in there. I think he'll have more catches and he'll have more touchdowns. I don't know about yards. I'm not going to fully satisfy the yards because that was over 1,000 yards, and these 3 receivers are very good.
Fair enough.
I really like that. Past those 3 guys, Farrell Cooper, not a bad guy here. I like what I see out of him. Josh Reynolds, decent. I think the 1-2-3 punch, if you will, is very, very good. And with Sean McVay just being the great head coach that he is, I think they're going to find a way to use all 3 of these guys to their top form. So I like what I see out of the Rams. They had the number 1, it was the number 1 rated offense last year. Hopefully they can do more with it this year than just a divisional round appearance. So I'm going to go with the Rams here at number 6.
At number 5, I have the Kansas City Chiefs.
Number 5? Okay.
Yes. Number 1, Tyreek Hill, who I think for some reason is underrated.
He is. First of all, we even put him lower on our list. I'm like, wow, this is a little bit lower than I was expecting. But
what do you mean?
Well, I mean, where did we
on our top 100?
Yeah, well, in our top 100,
he is our 10th best receiver, which I think
that feels low. He feels a little low.
It feels low, but I think he's going to be even better this year.
Yeah.
So like Tyreek Hill, stud, and I think. Even though we ranked him as the 10th best overall receiver, I think he's like a top 3 game-breaking receiver.
Yeah, I'd agree.
So there you go. You have Sammy Watkins, who I think is going to be a good number 2. He was asked at times to be number 1 for the Rams, and he was still banged up, but I think he can come back from fresh off the injury, a full off season, healthy, and I think he can be a good number 2 there and sort of give them what they had in like Jeremy Maclin a couple years ago. And even maybe more potential for balls down the field. Then you have Chris Connolly, who, don't forget, was a pretty good receiver a couple of years ago. He got hurt last year, and when he got hurt, they significantly went down in terms of their offensive production. Demarcus Robinson is a decent receiver as well, and they also have like DeAnthony Thomas, like gadget guys, a couple of rookies. But I think that top 3 is very solid. Especially the top 2, who have a ton of potential to be arguably the best group if they can put it all together and put their potential together. And if Patrick Mahomes can hit the field and deliver those bombs. So I have KC at number 5.
We got our 3rd agreement of the list. It's number 5, the Chiefs. Again, it's very difficult to go back and forth when we have the same team at the same spot because it's hard to change what the other guy said. But I got to agree here. Tyreek Hill, Number 10 just seems low, but like he really did produce. He's a game breaker, like Mitch said. He had 9 catches of over 40 yards last season, so
that's a lot.
Good. That's a lot. That's what I would like to see out of a speedy playmaker like himself. I like Sammy Watkins is a little bit of an enigma. Is he going to come back and produce? The injuries have been a concern, but in this Kansas City system, I feel like this one is going to help him a little bit more than the Rams system. The 2 guys that I think the number 3 spot, the Conley-Robinson area, is going to be interesting. Conley, we brought it up in that Sunday Night Football matchup. Was he going to be a big impact for the Chiefs that they lost him? And it kind of was for a couple weeks. They just didn't have the same play calling abilities without him because they made some really good plays for him. And DeMarcus Robinson, I think, is going to be a solid guy as well. Anthony Thomas, I always liked. So there's some really good receiver talent. And for the Chiefs, I think that's been one of their biggest strengths for the last couple of years is the receiver core. And especially with the big, fast electric guy like Tyreek Hill as your number 1 threat, you got to put him up here pretty high on the list. We both got him at number 5, so I agree with the selection.
At number 4, a lot higher than where you had them. Charger.
Okay, let's hear it.
Okay, Keenan Allen, in my opinion, the 7th best receiver in the NFL. So not much to say there. All around good receiver. Quicks, gets open, good route runner, catches a lot of balls. Then you have Tyrell Williams, who I think is a good receiver. Probably a number 2 on a lot of teams. He's arguably the number 2 on this team. You have Mike Williams, who I think is going to bounce back from that injury and come back and have a strong season. I think if you probably, think back to what the Chargers, a couple of their receivers they used to have, I think he kind of reminds me of a Vincent Jackson. If you can get a full peak potential. I know I'm kind of going on potential here, but I think that top 3 has a ton of potential to be very, very good. And if Mike Williams can really put it together, that's going to be super dangerous. Then you have Travis Benjamin, who, like Dylan said, he's been a good receiver in the past. In Cleveland, he was very good. And then last year, he had his moments. I think he can stretch the field definitely. Good playmaker, got some speed, decent returner. They also have some other guys down their depth chart that I don't know too much about, but a lot of young guys. And they always find with the Chargers, the thing is they always find these random receivers that can definitely fill in. And, of course, you add Phillip Rivers to the conversation, Ken Wisenhunt at OC, Anthony Lynn as head coach. I think they have a good offense, and I think their receivers definitely out there to prove something this year. And the big thing, the big time X factor, as we talked about in the last couple of videos, is Mike Williams. If Mike Williams can be that guy, this is definitely a top 5 unit. But even so, I think they're still in the top 10. So maybe I was leaning towards maybe a little bit more of the potential, but I have them at number 4.
Number 4 for me is a team that didn't have a win last year. No, they did not. The Cleveland Browns are at number 4. Now, we would sit here as fans and say, Cleveland Browns, how can they be in the top 5 of anything? You're right. But you look at their receiver core, and they're pretty fucking good. I was going to be honest. Flash Gordon, I know he has been out of the league. Flash? He's been out of the league for a while. I mean, he did play the second half of last year, but in terms of the last couple seasons, it's been very rocky. But if he plays like 2013, 1,600-yard Flash Gordon, his team's got to win at least a couple games. Okay, let's be honest. Jarvis Landry, they traded for him. They said, fuck it, we need another really good talent. Jarvis Landry's going to be in there. And whoever quarterback's going to be, Tyrod Taylor or Baker Mayfield, doesn't matter. He is going to have better production than he did in 2017. I'm going to be honest with you on that one. Corey Coleman, I really like. I know he had that hand injury, broke his hand, so that took away from the potential of him, but I think he is a very solid receiver, and especially a good number 3. You go a little bit farther down, Ricardo Lewis, I think is a solid 4th choice, not bad at all. Rashard Higgins, decent. Antonio Callaway, some good talent going down the list, but they have made some significant improvements in the receiver talent, especially getting Jarvis Landry. Browns, I believe Gordon himself made this proclamation they're a top 5 core, maybe even number 1.
I thought he said they're number 1.
Okay, let's not put number 1. Hold your horses.
Not yet. It could be.
It could be. They can be very good, but let's You haven't even won a game yet, so let's do that first. That being said, I got there's a lot of potential here. There's just so much good talent, and it's the best thing going for the Browns right now. So number 4, I got the Browns.
Okay, at number 3, I have the Cleveland Browns.
There you go. All right.
Flash. Oh, savior of the universe. Dun, 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 dun. Josh Gordon, number 12. He's back. Have you seen a picture of this dude?
He's fucking massive. He's insane. I sent you a picture of him.
Holy shit, dude. He's going to light the world on fire this year. You know I'm a big Flash Gordon fan. I hope he comes back and he's the best receiver in the league, because he was a couple of years ago. Jarvis Landry, he's good, man. Really good. He's going to be a really good number 2. I think especially with the Todd Haley offense, where I think they'll use him in a similar way to how he used Antonio Brown. And I think as long as the quarterback play with those 2 guys is decent enough, I think that they can definitely produce enough catches can go around, enough balls can go around for the 2 of them to produce. Then you have Corey Coleman as the number 3, who's going to be another outside guy. I think he's better than a lot of people think. I think he's just kind of struggled to, as a rookie and then a second-year player, to fill in as a number 1 receiver. That was sort of difficult for him. But at moments, he had shined and shown promise. I think Corey Coleman can definitely be a good number 3, has the talent there, and a former high pick. As you brought up, Ricardo Lewis, Rashard Higgins, both very athletic, tall receivers. Definitely go down the field. Antonio Callaway is the X factor for me of this group. He has a lot of raw ability. If you could put that together, then, man, this group is pretty ridiculous. Then you have Jeff Janis and some other guys. I don't know if those guys will make the team. But certainly the top 5 is very, very solid with a lot of potential, probably the most potential of any group. And, if Flash can be a top 3 receiver again and Landry can still remain a top 12-ish receiver, then I think that the Browns are going to be very, very explosive in the receiving game and on offense. So I have them at number 3.
It's the Minnesota Vikings here.
I called it.
Number 3 on this list. He was kind of similar to the Houston pick, where I really had to go with that 1-2 combo. It's a really fucking good 1-2 combo. Diggs, Thielen. I think in terms of receiver 1-2s, I think it's the best in the league. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I love what I saw to Diggs last year.
Maybe.
Thielen, maybe. Diggs, I love what I saw out of him last season. He provided some big moments, and of course, the NFC divisional round. Adam Thielen really stepped it up last year, became a big-time receiver threat. And this is all with Case Keenum, by the way. They're going to get Kirk Cousins, so we'll see how that goes. Kirk. The big question is the number 3 guy. There is a little bit of question of whether or not that's going to work. Kendall Wright, not the greatest receiver. I think he's going to be a decent number 3. And he's not having to be the fucking guy leading Chicago in receiving yards like he was last season, because that was just fucking terrible. So we'll have to see how that goes. Tavares King, not a bad decision. Please play Laquan Treadwell. I don't know if there's anything wrong with him that we've just never been told by the media's never told us, but he's played like 4 snaps. So please play him in the game more. I will have a higher expectation level. But in terms of Diggs and Thielen alone, I think that gets them at least near the top 5. And I just think that the duo played so well that these other guys are going to try to step up and make their big time, third down conversions, be one of those guys, and make this team very solid with a new quarterback this time around. So number 3, I got the Vikings.
All right. Looks like we have the same teams at number 1 and 2. Now, what's the order going to be?
Ooh, that's going to be the question. I'm interested.
Okay. So I say if we have different ones, because I'm going to announce my number 1.
Okay, you're going to announce number 1?
If you have a different one, we'll have a tiny little debate here, okay? Yeah. My number 1 is the Pittsburgh Steelers.
That's also my number 1.
Okay. My number 2, as well as Dylan's number 2, is the Atlanta Falcons, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So, talking about the Atlanta Falcons, what do you like about the Atlanta Falcons?
First off, you've got, I think, the second best receiver in the game, Julio Jones. You got to like what you see out of that first off. Mohamed Sanu, when used correctly, is a very good receiver threat and can really Makes some big time plays. He's also 6 for 6 throwing, by the way. But he's just a really solid receiver. Second guy that I think is very complimentary to Julio Jones. And if Julio has a bad game, chances are you're going to see Mohamed Sanu at the second. They drafted Calvin Ridley, who I know some people are not as high on, but as a third guy, I think is going to be a nice extra piece for Matt Ryan. And that combination overall gives them a lot of depth. And then in terms of the other guys, Justin Hardy, I think is a decent piece that gets a couple of good catches. The reason I don't have him at number 1 is because they don't have, it's Steve Sarkisian as the offensive coordinator. And I don't know if the routes are going to be as reliable as it was with Shanahan. But other than that, the talent that you see there with Julio, Muhammad, and Calvin, I think is a really good 3-piece right there. So that's why I got him at 2.
Mm-hmm. At number 1, Pittsburgh Steelers. Reason why we have number 1, Antonio Brown, best receiver in the game. Yep. At number 2, I think Juju is going to have a huge year this year. I think he's really going to break out. I like him a lot. I think he's a good receiver. Even though he doesn't look fast, I don't know why the guy continues to make big plays and break tackles and just make
97 yards last year.
Makes a lot of clutch catches. Definitely proved himself against some of the best teams and best defenses in the league last year. Then you have who's there? The rookie,
James Washington.
Washington, who they drafted in the 2nd round, I believe. He's a guy that I think you just have to give the benefit of the doubt to the Steelers at this point with Mike Tomlin, with the receivers. They draft a good receivers almost every year. And I think you just got to give them the benefit of the doubt. This is a good guy, and I think he'll probably turn out to be a pretty good slot or outside receiver. They also have Darius Harrod-Bay, who's not too bad. Definitely fills in at moments, can make his plays on the run. And then you have Justin Hunter, another guy. So my dogs are going off in the background. Brown, Juju, Washington, that's a really good 3, but I think they arguably have the best 1, 2, as you brought up a little bit before with the Vikings. It's pretty close between the Steelers, the Browns, and the Vikings. Mm-hmm. Pittsburgh, very good 1, 2, and I think Juju's really going to separate himself this year as his own guy, not just Brown and Juju, but I think he's going to make his own brand this year as a 1,000-yard plus receiver. Washington, I think, will surprise some people as a good number 3. Obviously, Ben helps. The one question is, without Todd Haley, how does this offense run? Does it run as effectively? And, of course, they don't have Le'Veon Bell in this conversation, who's probably their number 3 or 4 receiver. So Steelers still loaded at this position. Even without Martavis Bryant, they're the number 1 receiver unit in the league. I think just the difference between them and Atlanta is Brown and Julio are pretty much even. I think Juju is a little bit better than Sanu. Washington and Ridley are even at this point. We'll see what happens. But I think guys like DHP and Justin Hunter, I think, are a little bit better than Hardy and some of the other guys that they have. So I think Pittsburgh, little tiny bit better than Atlanta. But the number 1 unit. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video for the wide receiver core rankings from Mitch and Dylan. We just ranked every single wide receiver core in the NFL.
Whoa!
Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, hit the like button and subscribe for more. Deuces.
Peace.